Johnathan Yost. He's a con man, wanted in over 7 states for his fraudulent schemes. Tune into our show to learn how he hustles people out of their money and where they are now. Get the inside scoop on preventing yourself from being conned by following along as we unfold this story.
Hello and welcome to Blinded by the Lights, the cons of Johnathan Yost. I'm your host, Kirk.
I'm the co-host Clay.
Hey, Clay, how's it going?
Doing great. Ready
This is
to uncover who this guy is today.
awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. This is our first episode, and I think we should, like we discussed, give our audience a breakdown of who Johnathan Yost is and why he's so important and why they should listen, right?
Yes.
All right.
Johnathan Yost is a skilled con man who does all types of crimes, or cons, I should say. And um, he does from scamming churches to car scams to real estate scams, but what we're really focused on is the movie scams, what we got caught up in November of this year, and we're going to really talk about the movie scams because that's what's that's what the story that's where all the stories are at. Every movie is a different story, it seems like, and we've got 9 movies that he has done, or we believe he's done, but we believe he's done more, but 9 to our record. We're uncovering this every day. We're uncovering something new every day, and we're taking you guys along with us. We're taking you on this ride. We have a basis of what he's done, but we're uncovering this, and we'll tell you as soon as we get it. And we find out more through every interview that we do, and it's really fun. This is really crazy. He's a really bad human being who has scammed lots and lots of people.
The thing is, he uses uh, people who know what they're doing to set up the professional situation and the start of the project, but then they catch on, and that's when
Mhm.
he ends his con and goes to the next one. And while he's on set, he makes connections with actors and crew members who don't know what's going on because production's just getting wind of it. And when they stop the project, it's not known to a lot of people, and because there's this gap of communication, he's conning now those actors and those crew members into different things, whatever they can do. And it's usually roughly about $3,000 to $5,000 per con. And it could be anywhere from a Jeep, Apple products, or SAG after cards. And that's the case mostly of what we've found so far. So what he does, just to overview again, I'm not sure if we really talked about the cons. We talked about the film cons, the dates, the movies, but we didn't talk about what he does. He contacts filmmakers or makes connections with filmmakers, and then he uses their company or has them set up a company, structured an LLC for the film in their name. Somehow he gets away or puts off signing the document. So he's never on document. He's never signed anything. He's never listed as anything. And he gets investors. He takes company investments that do product placement. He takes people's cash money and he has them give it to him. I never gave him money. I knew better on that. But he gets people to give him money and then he holds the money. And have you seen him pull out that wad of cash? So he is the main person you have to go to buy lunch, buy equipment, buy locations. Oh, Johnathan, we need 200 for lunch today. Johnathan, I need to go get a hard drive, and it's him. He's the source of the money, which is a big problem. And the thing that everybody should know is you have to set up an escrow account for the film, and all the money goes into that account. All the taxes get paid out from that account and that LLC. The account has to match the LLC and for the movie. And people should never give a personal check to anybody. So here we are. Yeah, what was that line that we were giving that one studio when they're like, give us a pitch?
Yeah, ABC asked us to give this one line, and but the first thing I thought was, no, like there's too much to this story to give one line. But the one line was, fake Hollywood insider scams thousands out of millions, which I think was pretty on point, but
Yeah,
does not in any way do this story any justice.
right.
But for
Well,
on the spot, I thought it was pretty good at the time.
yeah, it was really good. Let's get into a little bit of his crime history. How about that?
Okay.
We've kind of been putting together a little map. And like you said, he started with church crimes in his hometown and
Right.
real estate
Right.
crimes.
He's from Ohio, where we believe he's wanted.
Mhm.
That's where he grew up.
Mhm.
We think he lives in Hawaii now, or we don't know where he is. If you know, please let us know. We'd love, if he's conning you right now, please let us know.
So it
Um,
looks like back in 2017 is the furthest date that we could get where he did real estate scams in North
yeah,
Carolina.
he was on the local news in North Carolina. He scammed a church in Cumberland for something like $5,000, and they also talked about him doing a real estate scam and
Mhm.
scamming actors.
I think that was
Like his.
about $9,000 for that real estate scam.
Oh, okay, yeah, and he was in Delaware also doing on that article. Um, he was scamming actors in Delaware that we know of, and that was his first time on the news. His face shown was in 2017.
Yep. And then after that, he went to Houston, Texas in 2018 because there was a scam about October 24th, 2018,
Yes.
where he was doing fake photo shoots and he was offering fake SAG after cards.
Yeah, that
Think that was the victim that he had, Dr. McKenna Vega, right?
yeah, and that was also on the local Houston news that he had got what is one of his main uh cons is he gets actors to give them money for SAG cards. So he says, you can be in my movie, pay me $3,000 and you're in my movie. And that's kind of the key to the blinded by the lights.
Yeah,
uh,
exactly. And then he was also saying, I have a connection with SAG. You don't need to go through a rep. Just give me 3,000 and I'll get you your card and you'll be done.
and I must say, she's a doctor, so she's
She's
no dummy,
brilliant. She's brilliant.
right? She's no dummy. She's a doctor, and even doctors can get blinded by the lights.
Anybody. And then after that scam, he went to the next record we have is January 18th, 2019,
That's the big boy.
To about February in San Antonio, Texas. It was a
Right.
$377,000 scam. Do you have any info on that?
Yeah, it's well, that's the one he has the court case for. So San Antonio has been the only real people out there that have tried to want to get this guy arrested, and he does have a court case um, for that, and he stole $377,000 from investors, and what we want to prove is that that's kind of how he does this whole thing. He gets investors to give him money, and then he'll go. It's like a pyramid scheme for movies. So then he'll go to his next movie, act like he can pay you, and act like there's some money there, and then he'll do another movie, and nobody gets anything, and nobody gets anything anyways. But he can shell out some money because he does get investors for as this one, 377,000. And I must say, the San Antonio has been super. They're the only ones. FBI, nobody is helpful except for the district attorney of San Antonio, and
And
she
let me tell
really
you that
wants.
I can attest to that, Clay, because I've been working since the beginning of our con that was made known to us. I've reached out FBI, marshals, our district attorneys, police stations. Nobody on the legal side of things is of any help. Nobody wants to take action. It's not big enough news. Unless it's big, it's not going to move anybody to do anything. It's really
Right.
disappointing.
Yes. Well, we're gonna police ourselves, aren't we?
Yep.
We're
We're gonna try. So after the San Antonio, uh, he was scamming people there. Then we go over to January 2020, where he did some bomb threats on Warner Brothers, and he actually was arrested for that. Um,
Yes.
and in that situation,
February 13th. He was arrested February 13th, and okay, well, and he was released March 3rd. He did a bomb threat on Warner Brothers Studios. I don't know how many people are in Warner Brothers Studios, but it has to be a lot. I've been there before. Um, the SAG office is in New York and the SAG office is in LA. All three places were evacuated. He was arrested, and so he spent. He was arrested February 13th, was released March 3rd. How anybody can get away with that?
almost a month.
Yeah. Oh,
So
2 weeks.
this was the actual starting point of my research and reaching out to the justice system because I had found the article and the officer in charge of the report for the bombing. And I finally got him to call me back. And he just basically said there's nothing that he can do. And also, this very important point, he had nothing to do with the arrest at that time. He was actually just the officer in charge of handling media reports for that month, which obviously they rotate, and I didn't know that. So there was no way to find out who was a part of that arresting, and there was no help there.
And we really want to find out why he did that. There has to be a great reason why he died.
Yeah,
Well, he's a sociopath, but we also want there should be a reason why he did that, and that's going to make
exactly.
a great story. And we'll hopefully we can unfold that for
Yeah,
everybody
what
on our
prompted him
podcast.
to? What motivated that? I'd love to know. And how did he? Why did they release him?
Right, right.
So then after that bomb threat, we went to March 2020, and that's where he was in Georgia. We
Very
don't.
busy right now. This is when he gets really, really busy.
Yeah, it gets really busy. Now there was a film before this one. This film's called "Hear My Cry." I don't know what the name of the film was he was in before this one, but he made his way uh, to Georgia where he met Joshua, and he used the previous movie to leverage himself as a professional in the entertainment industry. And he got Joshua involved in these scams. He didn't know what was going on. And this led to uh, a live play called Journey of a Single Mother with someone named Dushar, right? And then
Yeah.
the same continuing on, it went to another project called the Actor Project, where they met Spencina. And then they continued on to a documentary called Neither with Shantae. And then from the documentary, when they finished that, Josh still didn't know what was going on. And they went up so far as to go to Mexico on a promo tour for their movie Hear My Cry. And they were on Telemundo and a bunch of news channels. And at this point, they went back to the US but Johnathan had stayed in Mexico doing another con that he got busted on. We'll get more into that later.
A big
Um,
one.
a
It's a
big
big
one.
one. I can't wait to give you details on that.
And then going from Mexico back into the States, he couldn't reconnect with Josh because Josh knew, but he had already been setting up something with Cena, right?
Yes.
Which happened from May to June of 2020, called The Ocean Rescue,
Right.
which they filmed in Florida. They had red carpet events in May, and then that took them over to, I guess this was like Ocean Rescue 2 or a second movie, or was this the same movie? Because they ended up in Hawaii filming in July 10th.
Completely different. It was completely
Okay,
different.
two completely different ocean rescue scams with Spencina, right?
She wasn't in Hawaii though. She wasn't.
She wasn't in Hawaii, but they
No.
went on ahead to film without her. She was still connected at that time, but she was trying to figure things out because she didn't know. None of these people knew that this was going on. So then in Hawaii, he was actually arrested. It was shut down. It was on the news. It was everywhere in Hawaii. But of course, this is another problem, Clay, that we're running into, right? Because each of these states, each of these counties, they do report this stuff, but we don't hear about it because we're not in that county.
Right.
And so if we had heard about it, we would have known, like if his face was known, it would have prevented a lot. And that's kind of what we're doing with this podcast, right?
Right.
Then, so in July 17, 2020, he was arrested in the ocean rescue scam, which he did auditions with and filming over at the Sand Beach Hotel. And then again, he got out of that and ended back in the US. In October 2021, he was in Vegas. There's actually a podcast about this on YouTube, right, Clay? You found that with those three
Yeah.
gentlemen?
Yeah. And they talked about them getting conned through a residency scam. So
Yeah.
he is a musician, and that's how he gets a lot of these. He gets a lot of musicians because he is a musician and he's pretty good, and he gets them. They were talking about a residency where they got ripped off. So, or no, that they didn't fall for it. But that is what he does. Is he tries to get? He says he's part of a residency, and then I'm sure, kind of like the same scam he does with the SAG card.
Yep, exactly. And then going from that Vegas situation, he ended up in LA, and there was some sort of film con happening before ours, and we don't have all the information on that, but we're still digging. It could have been actually two film cons, because it was October in Vegas, and then ours was the end of what is that?
Ours was in November.
Ours is in November 2021. Ours was called Senses, and we'll get into that in a little bit, won't we, Clay?
Yeah.
He had other side things going on in that. He had Jeep cons, Apple cons, SAG-AFTRA card cons again. Yeah. So Clay, did we miss anything? I think we covered everything, right?
I think we covered the basis of what he did. Now we can go into a little bit more detail on some of the movies, and what he does. Roughly from what we've seen, there's about probably right around 50 people to each movie, right?
Wow, Clay. So the actual history of his cons is such a magnitude because you have one movie and there's like 3 or 4 other films connected to it. Plus, he's setting up for the next con. So, Clay, tell me, how did you get involved with the con called Census that happened in November 2021?
I had my two friends, Michelle and Ilka, were on the set, and they asked me to come up, be a PA, and then they'd have a role for me, and
Nice
they
friend.
did. I was filming the first day. It was awesome. It was pretty cool, and I was a cop, and that was pretty cool, dressed up like a cop, and I was excited, and I had a friend named King, super talented King. He was the first guy I saw on set, which you never have 3 people on set, and so that was pretty cool. And so I went up there. I'm from San Diego, drove up there.
It's a long drive.
Where was this being
filmed? Where was this being filmed?
right downtown,
I'm
downtown
asking as if
LA.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, you were
But
there.
I'm just because I want to get those details from you. So you're driving from San Diego to LA. Were you
Yeah.
staying down in LA or were you driving back and forth?
Uh, I drove back down a couple times, but I was staying with friends a few days, and actually I got to stay with a crew up there that was pretty cool. They let me stay with them up in the hotel, so we had a
Mhm.
good time doing that.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so that was cool.
So tell me about the
Um,
production. How was the production start on day one? You got this gig. You're expecting to see your friends. You drove in from San Diego. You're expecting to be in the film. You get to
uh,
set.
the production was cool. I mean, it looked there was a lot of money involved in this movie. The food was great. The God, beautiful people everywhere. There was just it was one of the most beautiful sets I've ever seen. Um, and Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought everything looked great until Johnathan spoke, and he gathered everybody around, and he the first words out of his mouth were, I'm the coolest guy anybody's ever met, and I want, you guys can come and talk to me, do whatever you want. And any movie set I've ever been on is the director asserts his dominance, and that was not what was happening, and that was really weird. And I got a bad vibe from it. I was like, this guy isn't right. And I've talked to tons of people about him, and most people say the same thing. I knew it from the second I saw him. I didn't like him, and it was it was everything was great except for him. So I was excited, but you're not thinking that one dude is gonna screw up a whole movie, like. And then I met you, and you're super cool, and just other people were it was fun. It was a fun set to be on, and it was busy and everything, but he was on it, and I had a bad feeling about him. And everyone says the same thing. You should have went with your gut. You're gonna hear that a lot in interviews and stuff, like, I wish I would have went with my gut. And I only wasted 2 weeks of my life. I didn't give him any money. So I'm low on the totem pole of getting ripped off. I'm very low on this totem pole. I
Clay,
just
let's
love the.
let's not minimalize your loss, okay? You spent gas money, you spent time away from your income job. You drove from San Diego to LA. You weren't always in the most
Right.
comfortable
Okay.
position. Sometimes you didn't know where you were staying. It was a mess during production. There was so much chaos. So
You're right. You're right, Kirk. You're right. And I did give a lot, but I'm talking about. I'm comparing myself to others. There's
yeah,
the other people that got ripped off so much more than I did, and
yeah.
and yes, I did do a lot, and I don't know. I don't. I just know what all these other people have lost. They've lost their time and money, and I only lost time.
And some money.
And some money, I guess, money, and yeah, I guess, yes, I did lose money, yes,
Yeah.
but there's me comparing myself to some of these other people that have lost boatloads of money. Like, they've lost a lot, and time, and there's some of them psychologically have been screwed up too, and it's
Yeah, I can attest for that.
right, right. Okay, we'll
Yeah.
tell everybody how you came into this, how you were part of census.
Oh boy. Should I summarize this? Somebody that I partnered with to do film stuff who has been around filmmaking but never really in filmmaking, was trying to open doors and be a really good friend and bring me along. And I had been producing for quite some time. And she had said she vetted this guy. And I had, this is the thing, is like a lot of these stories that we're interviewing, people came to trust somebody else who knew him, or trust without doing research who he was. um, in my case, I trusted somebody And so I was introduced to this guy who was very hard to get a hold of at the same time of me doing pre-production with other producers. And I had to help finish the script. It wasn't finished. And then I had to get crews set up with my producing partner and a couple other people. These are my uh, family per se. I've been through so many film productions with this crew. It's still to this day embarrassing to even just think about. This was my fam, you know, and it's as we will be going through other podcasts and hearing similar stories. It was family and friends, and like, you know, you have this opportunity. We were presented that this was a Netflix deal. We were presented that there was an escrow account of 500,000. It was split, so they put in 250,000, and then we get the other 250,000 released when we finish a trailer. So that was our goal: get the trailer done, and we'll get the rest of the money, and we could finish filming. A lot of things were red flags for me, but I kept getting reassured that the guy was who he was, and everything was fine. At the same time that we were setting up, I was told to get locations, and I'm like, okay, well, I need money for locations. And he's like, no, this is like the day before we're filming. No, dude, you're supposed to set up the locations and get paid back on the back end. That's exactly what happens with production. No, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that happening. That's never happened. I've been in film over 9 years. That's never happened. So he's pissed off at me. He's blaming me. I became this like scapegoat for him through the entire film production, which caused a wedge and a wall that grew tall and tall and tall between me and my film partner that had introduced me to him. Okay, so he manipulated that situation. So every time I had a red flag, and every time I brought something to her attention, I would get pushed aside or I was not listened to. So while we're racing to get locations, that week I actually got sick, and I'm like, well, are we going to cancel? What are we going to do? They're like, no, just get in the car, drive. We'll figure it out. Just get over here. So I'm like deathly ill, not COVID. I get in the car and I spend about 5 hours in one location. It's about an 11-hour drive. 5 hours in one location. That took 5 hours out of my day, and then 10 hours in another location. Each location, I was on my computer in a coffee shop, getting film location certificates and setting things up for the film that we were supposed to film tomorrow. So then it becomes about 10 o'clock at night, and I still have 9 hours to go. So I don't know if I'm calculating this right, but I think it was about 10 o'clock. And then I ended up getting into town about 4:30, and I crashed in a parking lot of a grocery store before we had to go to set. And I was just sick, and like I was wearing a mask and keeping my distance from everybody, but it wasn't COVID, and I knew that already. And uh, which was another thing too, because he assured me about our Coven's compliance officer. He assured me we were going to be SAG. He assured me we had union, and all of that was taken care of. And of course, nothing was taken care of, and I didn't find out till later. So there I am. That's how I got into this mess, and I ended up on set. And then that morning at 7, was it 7 o'clock? I think it was 7.
Yeah.
You were like early arrival, and that's when I met you. And you're like, hey, I'm Clay. How can I help you? Like, hey, Clay, what do you do? Because I didn't have my list, nothing. And he was supposed to be there ahead of me. He was supposed to be setting things up, because he's like, I'm gonna like jump in with you, and we're gonna do this together, and blah blah blah. And I was gonna first AD it and produce it and everything that I do anyway. And he gets there and he's like, okay, so let's go. And I'm like, no, me and you were organizing people. We're placing the crew. Wardrobe needs to go here, props there, camera set up here, all of this stuff. And he gets there and he's like, let's do a meeting. And I was like, okay. And he was like, everyone gather around. Okay, I'm going to tell you. And exactly what you said. I'm going to let you know I'm the most important person that you're ever going to meet. I've done this and I've done this and I've done this and I've done this and I've done this. And he's like, and this is what's going to go. And I don't want any gossip on the set. And every single time he set up a meeting on set, it was all about not gossiping. And if there's any issues, to come to him directly. And I think that was a setup because if there were going to be any issues about who he really was, he wanted to be at the front of
Right.
it.
And you'll see that later on. He drives wedges between actors, between producers, but that's what he
So many
does.
wedges. He
Right.
manipulates all the relationships. He tries to.
Hmm.
He's he's horrible. And yeah, and then I mean, it just went downhill from there. Clay, you were there. We had a whole crew, camera department quit. All the grips quit for various reasons. We'll discuss that later. I don't want to do the whole thing right now, the whole story, but yeah,
Right.
that's how I got roped into it. That's where we met. What when you were on our film set, were you introduced to him as Jonathan Yost?
No. He was Jonathan Diaz, I think, on ours.
Yeah, it was Jonathan Diaz. Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you
he
know
he
his
goes.
other names?
Yeah, his birth name is Jonathan Yost. And he goes by Jonathan Diaz, Jonathan Lopez,
Dr.
Dr.
Lopez.
J. Lopez. You'll hear interviews, people calling him Latino. He goes by the name Latino.
Jonathan
Um,
Latino.
yeah.
Jonathan Latino.
It's
Jonathan
it's it's
Yost, Jonathan Diaz,
usually always Jonathan, but the last name changes.
That's so funny.
When we looked up his, like when I looked him up, his IMBD was Jonathan Lopez,
Mhm.
and it was pretty hilarious. He was a professional surfer, and he had been on tons of great movies. They don't really double check your IMBD.
Yeah, IMDb. Yeah. Well, I mean, anybody could put anything on there if they approve it and it looks safe. I know when I looked at it, he had a bunch of film credits for doing graphic design work, and I actually called the department heads for those companies, and they said they never even heard of him.
Right,
I
and
didn't do
that's
this
how.
before, but I did it after, the fact.
Right. Well, so does everybody. That's how he got that church. That church in North Carolina. The very first news article, he said he was a what did we have here? Uh, an audio visual creative, whatever. But that's how he got the first one too.
Scamming churches. I mean, this guy will do anything, say anything. And it's not just that he tells you this information and it's believable. He befriends people and manipulates on their emotions. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the interviews we have coming up are just so intense. And I mean, he became what appeared to be close friends with these people, not just on a business level.
Right.
Um, and these
He'll
people are
do
just so
anything. He'll
great.
do anything to gain your trust and just
Anything.
kind of. And it's really weird too. What we've seen is the weirdest part of this whole thing is him not finishing it. Like we don't understand why he just doesn't finish it. He leaves 3 days before, or right when the shoot's gonna end, steals whatever he can. But I mean, we don't understand why he just doesn't make money off finishing the movies. It's just like he's a born bad human. Like
I was
he's
actually
doing
thinking about this the other day, and the one person that he's conning the most is himself. Because
right.
let's say he didn't have the movies, funds for these movies, and he could have finished these movies and had finished products and sold them and actually come back and like paid all these people, or he could have made himself famous off of them because they weren't horrible ideas. And
No.
he got real film crews and real film people. That's why these things actually got started and went to a certain point. He could have actually had a couple of projects done and distributed, and people could have actually done something with this. But he just, I don't understand.
How
What's
much
his
how
end
much would
game?
it how much more would it have took? Well, how much more would it have took for him to finish our movie and got it out? Like, not much, right? We were there.
Well, first of all, the guy doesn't know anything about filmmaking, which is
Yeah.
obvious. His script was too short. He thought that a bunch of action scenes would have filled it up. So we would have been short probably about 30 minutes in the film, but we could have finished the project and used it as a pitch for more investment to do more days, or we could have continued shooting and finished actual feature length. But
Really
yeah, I just don't understand. He does
bring
these
it to a
projects.
festival, something like that.
Yeah, but I
Mhm.
mean, no one's going to want to show their footage. Even actors that were on this are not going to want the clips to be shown to prove that they were on this show with him. I mean, it's like tainted footage.
And
But I don't know what the end game is. Yes, obviously he's making connections and sub connections and continuously plotting and doing more cons after more cons after more cons, but there's no really means to an end. There's no like big payoff.
and when does it run out? I mean, we've got so many people that
It runs
hate
out
this
with us,
guy.
Clay. It runs out with us.
So many people hate this guy, and everyone loves talking to us and loves what we're doing and is so
Yeah.
appreciative of what we're doing. And but he's still getting away with it right now. So
I can
it
guarantee you he's conning right now.
right. Maybe not be an upscale movie like ours, but well, it might be. It might. Sorry, it might be. It might be something even bigger right now. Um, and if you have any information, because there's gaps in our timeline, and we're adding to our that timeline that you posted up. We're adding to that every day, and every person we interview adds a little something. There's movies. We just heard the other day there might have been a movie in North Carolina, even though we just know about the church and the little schemes, but we heard there was a movie in North Carolina. We heard
Maybe that was the one before Hear My Cry in March with Joshua.
yeah. So
We still
we're
need to
we're
find out what
putting
that one is.
we're putting this all together, and I think that's why it's pretty cool for the audience to be engaged, and figuring this out, because we're figuring it. I mean, we know a lot, but we're figuring this out with you. And
Boy, I
if
tell you, every interview that we do, we learn something new.
yeah, we don't talk because it's just we're just like we're dumbfounded, like it's crazy how much he's got
It's so
away with and
crazy.
keeps
What do
getting
we?
away with.
What's lined up for our next couple of interviews, Clay?
We have the beautiful, talented Spencina, and
Hmm.
she kind of got. I mean, we were already starting, we were already rolling, but once I heard Spencina's story, it was crazy,
Yeah,
and
she's
she
going to
goes
cover the ocean rescues in
right,
May of 2020 and July of 2020, and then
right,
also there's that actor project in
hmm
earlier of 2020. Yeah, so we got
yeah.
that. And what? Who else we got?
We have Josh Foster, and he's super cool. And he's a pretty important dude in the music industry, and his stories are crazy, and
Yeah, he's going to cover the
nicest
live.
guy.
Yeah, he's going to cover the Hear My Cry film of March 2020, which was before Spencina, and then the live play, and there was a documentary, and then they went to Mexico. So all of that with Joshua.
So our story also on how we got into this. So a couple months ago, Kirk calls me and says, uh, I'm sorry, we can't pay you right now. We're working on it. We we're gonna do our best. We got the FBI on Johnathan. He left a few days before rap, and we don't know what happened. We don't know what's going on. I apologize. And for one, I was thinking, I felt so sorry for you, because I'm like, damn, he has to do this for everybody on the damn set. That's crazy. Um, so what had happened was I I looked him up. And one thing led to another and I just fell down this rabbit hole on this guy. You know, it's all on the internet. Oh, not all of it's on the internet, but and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is great. This guy has you know, and this is when other documentaries were out, like you know, Tinder Swindler and Inventing Anna, and so I start writing it down, and I just start writing everything down that is on the internet on him, you know, and Johnathan Yost led to Jonathan Lopez, led to Jonathan Diaz, led to and I couldn't believe someone got away with so much, and so I came to you and said the next morning and was like, hey, dude, this is a crazy story. I think we have a document. Like, do you know this guy? Like, did you see? Do you know this guy is crazy? Like, it's nuts. And I go, I don't know anything about documentaries, but let's do a documentary on this guy. This is an awesome story. And you know, you said, oh, let me think about it, and I emailed you the lists of crimes, and you said, yes, let's do this. Let's get this. Let's get him. Let's do a documentary. Let's get his name out there. And then I was excited. You know, I was just like, yeah, let's do this.
I remember you calling me to do the documentary, and I was still in the middle of calling all of the cast and crew personally, because I knew all of you personally. Everybody I met on set, everybody I talked to, up into the extras, I talked with, and there were people that I was closer to than others, but I was just so horrified and terrified about what was going to happen. I didn't know what the outcome of this was going to be, but thankfully, everybody on this cast and crew had the biggest heart and were very supportive and knew exactly what was going on. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to come back at you and say, yeah, let's do this, because I want to expose this guy. I want his name out there so that this does not happen again. We can see this whole history we went over since 2017. I'm sure there was more before that, since 2017, and there has not been enough exposure about this guy. When is this going to get big enough for somebody to step in? I called you and I told you, and I told a bunch of others, we had FBI on this. We did. There's been reports filed. There's been police reports filed. There's the only ones that have been successful about doing anything are in Texas, and the district of attorney. I've talked to him, and they
Don't
have a
mess with
case.
Texas.
Don't mess with Texas. But whoever, I don't have all the information on who exactly is responsible for that. When I asked who the lawsuit is from, it's the actual state of Texas suing him. So hopefully there could be something there. But according to his record and history of being arrested and crimes, he keeps getting away with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And,
I mean,
and a lot of the stuff seems to get expunged that he does get, you know, caught for.
yeah,
And
yeah,
he's wanted in states where we don't know what he's done, like Ohio
yeah,
and
yeah.
where there's a few other places where we don't know what he's done, but he's done something.
Yeah, he's disgusting. It's not just film cons. I mean, he has manipulated people into relationships. He has harassed people. We stopped him on our set. He was harassing one of the actresses. He was trying to manipulate some of the females on our set, and we were like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to shut this whole film down. And my partner was like, this is not going to happen. We'll shut this down. And he knew what the boundary was, and unfortunately kept going on with the con. But yeah, the biggest part of this thing, and what everybody listening can do, is share this podcast. We're going to be on weekly as long as we can go. Share this podcast to everybody, your family, your friends. It's such a big deal. You hear it, you watch these podcasts, you watch YouTube videos, and they're like, hey, like and subscribe. That'll help us out. Help yourselves out. help your family out, and help society out, and get this guy caught. That's
Yep.
it.
Do it. There you go. Right. And we want to get more, if you've been conned by him, we want to hear from you, and we have other people lined up. A lot of people think that, it might tarnish their name or something like that, but these are important people, like these aren't, scrubs. These are big people, and we just want to hear from everybody, and we are forming a team. Like these, it's so cool that Spencina and Josh, gosh, they're such cool people, and we're forming this big team, and we're talking to everybody, almost every day, getting somebody new, and we're all coming together, and we're all going to figure this out. And
The whole point of our podcast is to expose Johnathan on a bigger scale, because the justice system is not doing that. And then on another whole level, it's a therapeutic platform for all of his victims to come together and discuss it. And it's been really helpful to everybody that's been involved so far. And then lastly, I mean, if anything comes from this that's on a bigger scale, maybe a documentary, maybe a movie, news reports, national news reports, anything to expose this guy, which is our primary goal. We want this guy stopped. So with that said, if anybody has any information on him, like Clay said, if anyone's been scammed and wants to do an interview, we have an email in the description below. You can reach out to us. Even if you don't want to be interviewed on the podcast, we'd love to talk to you. Sometimes we can fill in the gaps that way, and we can report it ourselves. So I think that's it for this episode, Clay.
Awesome.
Good job. I'll see you next time.
See you next time.